everybody, Chris Kirkpatrick here. I'm one of the world's leading financial security experts, helping people accomplish what they want in their life with their finances without taking on unnecessary risk. Now, so far in week 2, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about the macro level of money personalities and which money personality are you, kind of what blend maybe of the money personalities you are. We've talked about some micro stuff. We've talked about specifically what's keeping you up at night. What stressors are there in your life that are really just kind of freaking you out a little bit. And this video is going to concentrate, we're going to put that stuff behind us a little bit, and we're going to start thinking about, okay, let's not freak out about that, but let's figure out, how do we start with the end in mind? How do we start really living our life intentionally, and rather than letting every situation come at us and being led by the world, how do we start with the end in mind and let us lead our life rather than let the world lead us? And if you look at the world and the results the world's getting right now, specifically with their money, right, and in pretty much every area of life, I mean, divorce rates are up, everything is just kind of falling apart, but the reality is that things are falling apart, and 92% of Americans are not able to even maintain their standard of living when they retire. Now, to me, that's not just an individual problem, that's a systematic issue. And when you have a systematic issue on that level, you have to do something different to get outside of that system. And as I talk about in the LIFE180 pyramid, which was in week 1, so if you haven't seen it, go back and revisit it. But we're in a situation, where do you accomplish 5% results in anything by doing what 95% of the people in the world do, right? It just doesn't happen. And so it's really funny. I stumbled across this study. The University of Leeds put this study out, and they did a study on sheep, right? And we all hear the expression, oh, don't be a sheep, or one of my favorites is a little gruesome, but one of my favorite expressions is, if you follow the herd, you get slaughtered, right? And so, granted, I think they call a sheep a flock, but if you follow the herd, you get slaughtered. It's so true, because look, if you do what everybody else is doing, look where you end up with your finances, probably in the 92% that's not going to be able to maintain your standard of living. And so how do we do that? Well, it's funny, if you look at sheep, I just want to make this quick, real analogy about sheep. And if you look at sheep, and in this study that the University of Leeds did, and if you look at the sheep in that study, it's really interesting, because out of a flock of 200 sheep, do you know how many sheep need to just start kind of wandering off in a certain direction before all the other sheep start running along and it's just without even knowing where they're going? You only need about 5% of the sheep to start walking off in a direction, or running off, bolting from the herd, bolting from the flock, and the rest of them are just going to follow for who knows what reason. They don't even know why they're doing it. They're just doing it because they like to stick together, right? And that's where the expression comes from. They also found that sheep are motivated by one of two things. They're motivated by carrots. Well, I'm going to call it carrots, but food, and they're motivated by the stick, which is fear. They very quickly realize that if you have a stick, all you need to do is show that stick, and they remember what that pain is, and so they respond to it. Now, University of Leeds also did another study, and it wasn't on sheep, it was on another animal race, and that other race was the same exact thing. That other species was the same exact thing. It only took 5% of the group move in a certain direction for the rest of them to just follow along without even knowing why. You got it. It was humans. And it's no surprise then, humans are also motivated by carrots, right? And they're also motivated by the stick. And because we're always either looking to accomplish something, or we're looking to avoid pain, and that, if you think about that it's so true. And if we spend our lives going through and just responding and being like the herd and following the herd and responding to trying to avoid pain, then we're never going to get where we want to go. We're going to end up with really terrible results, and you're going to live a totally unfulfilled life, right? And so what I want to do is I want to challenge you. There's all of this constant fighting and battle for your attention, for your capacity, for programming of your subconscious. I heard something a couple years ago that really made a huge impact on me that says, you know what, your brain is being programmed, whether you like it or not, right? The question is, are you going to be the one who's programming it, or are you going to let other organizations, other people, are you going to let the media, are you going to let corporate America, are you going to let the government, are you going to, whatever, your employer, your family, whatever, who are you going to let program you? Are you going to take it on yourself? Are you going to take that initiative? And so we have a choice. We can either choose to step outside the box, choose to try to be exceptional, because you don't become exceptional, right? Just by happenstance, right? Because, I mean, think about it this way. If we were to go to a gym, right? And we could see two different types of people at the gym. You could see, well, maybe you wouldn't see them at the gym, but if you saw a really, really fit person, right? And that person was just ripped and it was everything you wanted to look like, maybe, you would go up to that person. You would say, oh my gosh, like, how did you do it? Like, what was your workout schedule like? What was your diet like? What was all that stuff? And you don't, on the flip side, you don't go up to somebody who's really out of shape and overweight or whatever and say, oh my gosh, man, how'd you do it? Well, you know, like there's no specialty there. It's easy to fall into mediocrity. It's easy to let things just happen to you. And if by default, we will wind up in going down that path. And so I want to challenge you for the rest of this course, and I know you're here, and congratulations. And you know, just because of the fact that you're one of the people watching this video, I know that you're already going down this path where you're wanting to challenge the status quo. But what I want to do is I want to challenge you to take it even further and just open your mind and realize that it goes way beyond your money. It goes way beyond just getting out of debt and rebuilding your credit and building the base for your financial life. Money is just a tool, right? And if you don't really connect with what you want your life to look like at the end of the game, right? At the end of the journey, if you really don't know what it is that you want to accomplish, what mark you want to leave on the world, what legacy you want to leave for your family, what impact you want to make on your community, if you don't have all that figured out, you're going to be looking back and you're going to have regrets. And people never regret when they're on their deathbed. They never regret, you know, they never look back and they say, hey, I wish I'd worked more, or hey, whatever. Like they look back and they wish that they had spent more time with their family. They wish they had given more back to their community. They wish they had been able to do something that would have left them a better legacy. And that's what starting with the end in mind is all about, because you're going to have constantly things are going to be thrown at you. The world is going to change. The economic environment is going to change. We're going to have booms. We're going to have busts, as you've seen. Your family environment's going to change. People are going to die. New people are going to come into your life. The world is constantly going to change. So if you don't have a real clear picture on where you want to go, what your end game is, and we'll call it your exit strategy from life, if you don't have that, then it's going to be really hard for you to get to where you want to go. Because I've used the analogy before. If you call a travel agent, right, and you say, hey, I want to take a trip, the first question most people think that they're going to ask you is, where do you want to go? Well, no, the first question they ask you is, where are you starting from, right? Because they need to know the departure airport. And then they ask you, where do you want to go? And ultimately, if you don't know where you're starting from and where you want to go, then any road can get you there, because you're just kind of driving aimlessly, right? So what I want this to be is, this course is going to be your financial GPS, and what I want you to really spend some time thinking, and I know this may not seem relevant because this is a course to help you get control of your finances, but what I need you to understand is your mindset is such an integral, imperative part of you regaining control of your finances, because for most people at least, the reason you're here is because of your money view, is because of the habits you have around your money, and because the emotion behind money is so massive. So regaining control, resetting your mindset, and getting a good grasp on what your why is, and starting with the end in mind is just absolutely essential. So with that said, we're going to hop into next week, right? And when next week is released, that's where rubber's going to hit the road, like for real. We're going to get into getting out of debt. We're going to get into rebuilding your credit. I'm going to walk you through all the different ways. It's really in depth. It's actually going to be a 2-week module that we're going to walk you through and just handle all that stuff. We're going to make sure that your insurances are on point. We're going to make sure that your taxes, you're not paying more in taxes than you need to. We're just going to really go through your whole life and make sure that you're operating at 100% max efficiency. We're going to recapture that money that you're losing right now, because I promise you're losing money right now that you don't need to be losing and you don't even know it. And we're going to help you recapture that money, make your life more efficient, pay down your debt, or enhance your savings. And from there, the sky's the limit, because we're also going forward going to teach you how to leverage all that and how to create more cash flow and just create more out of life with the tool that we call money, so you can implement it best. So until next week, live efficiently, live abundantly, live Life 180.